Welcome back, everybody. It's time for game number 2. Here today with Dignitas going up against Immortals. Now, game number 1, Mr. Bazale. Game number 1 looked pretty even for a good long while. Most of our early game was pretty uneventful. Then all it took was one team fight in the bot side river, and 10 minutes later, the Nexus blows up.
Yep. I mean, they played it really well. I think they protected the Zac well in the early game. Their team fights were played, I think, pretty strongly around their engage, around Zac, around Rakan. Insanity and Raze, their carries played really well. So it was kind of the full package, honestly, from Immortals in game number 1. My biggest question is, what are the adjustments here from Dignitas coming into game number 2, right? Okay. They're going back to the blue side, I believe I heard on the desk. So they are going to be playing the draft from the same side. But if you're Immortals and this game 1 plan worked, and you're on the same side, you literally just try to run it back, right? Like there's no reason for them to change. Everything pretty much went according to plan. They controlled the dragons, they won the team fights, like they had good scaling. They didn't really have any issues. So I feel like it's more on Dignitas to ban out some of the picks that Immortals had in game 1 or to adjust the picks that they are grabbing for themselves.
I think that that's just the nature of the draft phase when the losing team selects the same side, right? Yep. You are now saying, okay, we understand what we need to change, because the pressure isn't on your opponent to change. Your opponent already showcased a winning formula 15 minutes ago. So let's see what those changes look like for Dignitas, because like the desk pointed out, they're saying, okay, if Dignitas should be able to rely on playing a better early game, playing a faster early game, trusting in Acadian's early game jungling, then the early game bans probably aren't as strong as something that would be able to ensure against one of those weaknesses later on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Dignitas also could have the read that, guess what? This wasn't about picks and bans. This was about execution. You know, failing that team fight. Hai was talking about on the desk how many resources they actually spent to kill off the Rakan in that kind of what turned out to be game-deciding team fight down on the bottom side river, where they did end up getting ace fairly early. Yeah. And maybe they're just saying, hey, no, it wasn't actually a problem. Things were going fine. We had a slight gold lead. We had good scaling with Tristana and Rise. We just messed up a team fight and they snowballed well. So it will be exciting to see what they are going to change, if anything. Sometimes, like, I can give you the salty run back once and not have a problem with it. Okay. Where I do have a problem with it is when they go to it like just a second time. Then you're like, ooh, you really don't have anything else. Wait,
you don't like seeing a team be down 0-2 in a series and then play the exact same thing that they already lost twice with?
Yeah, that's when I usually turn it off. I'm just like, I'm like, oh, I understand, and you understand too. You already lost.
That's like, all right, we're just sending it all the way home.
You've accepted defeat. Time to go queue up some League of Legends of my own.
Well, let's hope that Dignitas has a couple cures for what ailed them in game number 1, because it did feel like the game could have very much gone either way. Again, we only had 1 kill for so long in that game, right? It was not an action-packed early game with a ton of aggressive movements coming out of both sides. It was a couple flashes blown, the 1 kill top, and then it really did all culminate in that battle down there in the bottom side river, right? Yeah. So that's one of those types of things. Even if you don't win that fight, if you don't just get aced at that point, the game can look very different for Dig.
Absolutely. I mean, the reality is you come into playoffs, and this is something that you see all over the world, and especially when you are newer to the playoff scene, and you come in, your whole year is essentially dictated by this series, right? Yeah. You lose this series, you're done till January. You wait till next year to play League of Legends professionally.
You can enjoy Worlds from the couch like all of the fans at home, but that's about it.
Yeah. So it's so important, and there's so much pressure on it that a lot of times people will play a little bit more hesitant in the early minutes. Saw this in the LPL with Suning, last night, them playing. That was like a 3 or 4 kill game at 30 minutes in game 1, right? This is something that you see all around the world, where people often in game number 1 come out a little bit more slowly, are trying to feel out their opponents, are trying to kind of build some confidence in the series. And then generally speaking, the series does pick up pace as it goes on, where people have gotten that first game under their belt. They're feeling a little bit more confident. They're realizing, all right, there's more pressure on it, but really once you get in the game, it feels the same.
It's still a game of League of Legends, right? It's the same game that you're practicing and preparing and refining for all this time. And specifically with an example like this, with, again, just going back to what we heard from Dash's interview in the previous game, Immortals haven't just been practicing general League of Legends for the past 2 weeks. They have been practicing specifically, how do we beat Dig? What are Dig's weaknesses? How does Dig want to play the game? And how do we shut that down? And I think that hopefully after that game 1 win, that should inspire even more confidence in them to play aggressively and play in this way that they've been preparing for, because now they have solid evidence right in front of them. Hey, the prep worked.
Yep. And Dignitas may need to try to put more priority on an earlier pick in the draft for Neo, for Afro, try to really get something that they can play a little bit more aggressively with, perhaps, or even take away something like the Ziggs or the Syndra, because a lot of the mages in the bot lane are actually less about fighting champions, and they're more about fighting the minions, right?
Yeah, you just clear the wave instantly and stall.
Exactly. And so that kind of denies a lot of your ability to play super aggressive. Yes, if the mage mispositions or makes a mistake, then yeah, you can try to look for that hard engage. But in most of these bottom lanes, as long as they're playing it well, it's very, very difficult to actually pull off an all-in. They're happy to just clear out the wave, back it up, allow you to fight those minions over and over, and try to look for pressure elsewhere. And that's something that the teams that are comfortable playing those mages in the bot lane just have as an advantage.
Right, and it's one of those things that, I mean, it's one of the class archetype differences between an AD carry and a mage, whereas AD carries are like, hey, your job is to do damage. You have the range, you have the stat profile, you build for DPS, whereas mages, while, yeah, they still pack a punch, but a lot of it is burst, and there's utility built into the kits, right? It doesn't matter if Syndra doesn't have the 600 extra gold she might have from getting 2 kills in laning phase. Scatter the Weak still stuns multiple dudes if multiple dudes line up for Scatter the Weak. It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're behind, you still have that utility. Of course, Syndra wants to play from ahead, wants to one-shot people, and Raze did, farm evenly, if not ahead, in that laning phase. So he was able to kind of get the best of both worlds. But yeah, I mean, to your point, a lot of times in the laning phase, it's like the AD is fighting you and you're fighting your mana bar, right? And it's kind of this situation where they're trying to force you to have awkward recalls. They're trying to force you to run out of mana, utilize the more consistent damage and auto attack power that marksmen have, and you're trying to kind of tax that mana bar. We saw Raze started tier as a result of that. We saw that Neo as well was just starting longsword plus 3-pot to try to have maximum sustain, to try to potentially keep that mage in lane. But if you can't contest the wave push, you can't actually force them to take bad recalls, and that's one of the most difficult things.
Yeah, and I love how this is how y'all know that Azale's a smart caster. He's talking about measuring health bars versus mana bars instead of health bars versus health bars, and I just go into every game of League of Legends thinking, okay, I can steal that blue buff without my Spire if I stand on this seaweed. That's the difference right there.
I feel like when I'm talking about League of Legends, I'm one person, then I'm playing League of Legends. I'm another person.
You're the guy that I leave on an island and didn't go farm my Krugs. It's okay. Even
We're
the best laid plans
fine.
sometimes have Skarners involved in them. Now, let's see what these laid plans look like here, as Dignitas will ban out the Syndra and the Lucian from Immortals. They do not want to see that against them here yet again. They will keep that Draven banned out of the game here, as we have Renekton, Callista, and Irelia banned out by Immortals.
Yeah, so same bans from the Immortal side, I believe. Same first pick for Dig, but they do ban out who were really the 2 big carries on that Immortal side. The Syndra for Raze was huge. The Lucian for Insanity was also huge. There is the ability to go towards other mages like Ziggs in the bot lane if they want, though.
Yeah, and this hover right here, the Thresh, this was one of the bans from Dignitas in the first half of Game 1. This is one of the things they had to sacrifice to ban out Lucian and Syndra, and it's immediately getting locked in, as well as this Viego. I'm assuming for revenge, but still could be a flex. If it's on revenge, I love that. Think he had a really good game in number 1.
He definitely did. Can also throw that in the jungle. Immortals was obviously really trying to utilize early picks to threaten a flex, and they did that in the last game with the Lucian. They early picked that, but they ended up moving it around a little bit, trying to threaten it coming through different lanes. Xayah coming through, could be Xayah or Khan. If you go Thresh here, you have the ability to move towards either an aggressive counter or something that is a bit more scaling. Jinx, Aphelios, those are some of the common pairings that you see if you want that hyper scaling bot lane. You can pair it with something like the Ziggs, but generally I feel like Thresh is better with those hyper scaling AD champions. Aphelios makes a lot of sense here.
There you go.
It's going to get locked in, so it is a very different style that they are playing now, though, and I do think Aphelios is easier to attack as long as the Thresh is out of position. Right,
and the thing about this Xayah here for Neo, you won't have that same sort of moment like you had in that bottom side river team fight in game number 1, where Revenge just jumps on a Neo, boom, one-shots and he's dead, because you have that self-peel, you have that ulti that can get away from a champion like Viego, or even if Aphelios has the short-range guns, right? Red, white, don't fight. If he's in your face spinning around like some sort of Beyblade straight out of the 9th circle of hell, you can just say, nope, you can walk away. That is a big X from me, sir. No thank you. So let's see how that might be able to affect the rest of Dig's draft. We still need to see both of our solo laners from Dignitas and potentially both of our solo laners from Immortals.
Yep. And Neo going to be playing that. I mean, Xayah with ultimate available is one of the most difficult marksmen to actually dive, right?
Yes.
Because not only can you avoid the initial engage by using the ulti, you're then all kind of stacking up on these feathers for the pull through. The blade caller is really, really deadly there. Some of the bans focus more towards top lane here again.
Oh, yes. So that means they're
convinced that it is going to be a top lane Viego with the Camille ban.
Right, yeah, that's what it feels like to me, is they're saying, okay, the Viego's not the top laner this time around. We have to continue targeting other champions that Revenge is good at, is effective on. Immortals, definitely targeting towards Fake God here, getting rid of both Gnar and Gangplank.
And I think that the logic makes sense on the Dignitas side, because really, what's the hard engage over on Immortals right now? They don't have any, right? So they're.
I mean, you got Recon. Or, oh no, excuse me, you said Dignitas on Immortals.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly, right? So that's why they're banning out things like the Camille, banning out some of these top lane champions that can work as the hard engage. Tahm Kench, not exactly hard engage, but can help the setup for the Thresh. I do feel that they're lacking pretty significantly as some actual go buttons here, compared to what they have last game, where they had Zac, where they had Syndra, where they had Rakan. They had so many ways to start a fight out immediately. This is a very different picture, and if they want to get anything, it's going to have to be up to Insanity, very likely. But I'm not sure that he would play something like the Lissandra unless it's a really good mid lane matchup. You know, maybe if we see like a blind LeBlanc, but that just doesn't feel like something Yasui would play.
And remember, depending on what the mid laner from Dignitas is, Tahm Kench can still be flexed mid as well. It is still a possibility, so there could be a different engage style champion from top lane. I think that will largely depend on, you know, what we get from Dignitas here. So the first thing we got, Sylas. There's a flex, can go either top lane or mid lane. Very powerful in a lot of situations. This guy has been strong in the meta for a while now, especially if you have good ultimates to steal. We got the box, we got the Viego execution. Tahm Kench, Devour. Okay, Mordekaiser.
This is a Fake God special. Haven't seen him playing it for a while, but this is something he used to play a lot in Pro League. So we'll see what the answer will be for Revenge. I mean, that is a read that it's a top lane Tahm Kench, because that is a horrible matchup for Mordekaiser. But I'd also say that Sylas is somewhat difficult as well. You know, generally Mord is just dealing so well with tanks, percentage HP damage, the passive, you rush toward things like the Riftmaker, you now sustain what they want to do, but it's going to be top Kench regardless. You cannot jungle this champion. So mid lane LeBlanc, really good matchup on the top side for Dignitas. I do think this is going to be a tough one for Revenge, especially past the early levels. Once you get some sustain in the kit on Mord, once you have the Leeching Leer, and even just that Riftmaker complete, you can pretty much shrug off everything Tahm Kench is doing, and you're going to force Revenge to be playing under his tower.
Okay, so we're talking about the top lane not being favorable for him this time around, just based off of matchup. And you've also already described some of your discontent with Immortals lacking engage mechanisms.
Yeah.
So let me ask now, where do you want to see both of these junglers focus here in game number 2, especially early on, to really get them going towards a game plan that can carry them to a win?
I mean, I think for Xerxes, you can attack multiple lanes here. You have the setup of the LeBlanc. I think that's your winning lane and largely what you want to play through. But Thresh with the hook into Lantern, that can set you up as well. And if the Mordekaiser is overextending, you have the ability to actually, you know, slow him down with Tahm Kench to run down a lane there pre-6. So I think there's actually a lot of options of where to gank on the Immortals side. The problem becomes, if Dignitas is winning multiple lanes, they're going to get vision, they're going to scatter your ganks, and they're not going to work.
So that then would be the name of the game here for Dignitas, right? Be able to get those advantages. Watch out for where that's coming from. And especially with this Mordekaiser, I mean, if Mordekaiser gets to the point where there isn't really a viable option to deal with him in a 1v1 in team fights, all of a sudden, taxes must be paid. QSSs must be purchased, which can make such a massive difference in a game, charging that 1,300 gold to multiple enemy players.
Exactly. I mean, even if you're just looking at someone like Raze, right? If you can say, all right, Aphelios is going to be the big threat here, you just ult this guy every single team fight and take him out, and there's not a lot of consistent damage amongst the last 4 remaining players on the Immortals side. And when some of these champions get stuck in those situations, it's incredibly difficult for them to actually deal with the Mordekaiser. Again, Dignitas looking for the aggressive invade here. This one was spotted, so we'll be able to back it up there.
Raze sees what's going on, flashes the emote, walks away. Dignitas will continue hanging out here. We've got multiple players around. Acadian stepping forward. He'll see Destiny. but he doesn't go any further in. Not quite enough range for Audacious Charge.
I think that Insanity's going to have to lane well in this one. It just feels like that's your only winning lane, really. That's the only lane that I really expect to be kind of having prio. Acadian is going to have priority as far as the 1v1 in the jungle goes as well. So if your mid lane is losing, it's going to be problematic. You know, utilizing the range advantage in this LeBlanc versus Sylas will be critical. I like the deep ward here, though, from Revenge. As soon as you see them actually invading on the bottom side, you kind of get carte blanche to go in on the other side of the map and really try to get some vision down. So at the very least, they have eyes on where this is going to start out. And it did look like we saw, so what Revenge did is he actually stacked the wave on top side, so he just walked forward into the minions so that they would group up and kill off his minions faster so that the wave is going to push towards him, right? And when you are in some of these losing matchups, that often can be the answer. You want to thin it enough so that you're not just going to get kind of hard shoved in and overwhelmed by the minions, but at the same time, you don't want to be pushing away, especially when Xin is starting topside and you're in a losing matchup because you're just going to get ganked and die.
Okay, well, he's been hit over the head with that mace a couple of times here, so we'll see how this lane continues for him. Yasui, where most melee champions are going to be against a ranged champion early on here. I mean, that's just the nature of being a level 1 melee versus a level 1 ranged, so he'll step back, farm up whatever he can. Insanity will maintain that edge here in the 1v1 on that LeBlanc. You already stated the importance of this lane in particular, giving them a lead and giving them an opportunity for Xerxes to play around. So
absolutely.
Very, very big stuff.
You've got to be able to have access to at least one scuttle, right? If you have 3 pushing lanes on the Dignitas side, and Acadian gets double scuttle, Viego can just get run over in that kind of a situation. So having Insanity playing with some pressure here in the mid lane is going to be a big deal, and we'll see if he can keep that up because he had a really good game number 1.
Yep, we've got 4 teleports on our solo laners here once again, so we'll see if those get used for any early action. Again, last game we only saw the 1 kill for, what, was the first 15 minutes of the game or so, and it was a dive in the top lane coming out from the side of Dignitas. Now here in the bot lane, Acadian is ready to potentially get involved. Now, Xerxes is nearby. Looks like we're just trying to get a little bit of a bait here into maybe what would appear to be a 2v2. But Immortals are not taking that bait. They are happy to clear away the wave. They know that their own jungler is on the crab. They don't want to start up any fights understanding that. So that'll just give Acadian no opportunity to move in, and he'll go back to farming Krugs.
Yep. And the scouting report from Giloto is kind of remaining true, that it is a priority on ganking here from Acadian, that he doesn't want to use it to power farm. We see some other junglers with more of a priority on just kind of power farming on Xin and being able to stay ahead of the pace of the game. This is something that Blabber, I think, does really well when he's playing champions like Olaf and Xin Zhao. He really focusing on keeping his levels up and just trying to go for the best ganks, basically, instead of just kind of spamming them.
Yeah.
And it can allow you to get to a stage where you just have so much more gold than your opponent that you're a terror in team fights.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you're 2 levels up on the enemy guy, you've got 30 more farm, and you're just posing this massive threat by nature of taking every guaranteed resource instead of the risky one.
Exactly. But you know, the other side of the coin is that this is higher risk, but it's also higher reward. If you make a couple early ganks really happen, get some of those early kills, you can decide lanes and you can snowball the game before it even gets to that point.
And the other important thing to note about, you know, everyone running the standard 2 teleports here on each side with our solo laners, that does mean that killing Yasui is very difficult without a gank for Insanity because you have no ignite. So much of what Sylas does, so much of what makes him strong is Kingslayer, the ability to heal up so dramatically, and without that extra heal cut early on, it's very easy for him to at least do enough to stay alive. Now here in top lane, Fake God and Revenge just do not stop trading blows back and forth. And honestly, Revenge keeping the CS nice and close here. Even if Fake God farms up all 3 of these remaining ones, it'll still be dead even.
Yep, absolutely. And Tahm Kench can win early. You know, it's one of those situations that once you get more levels, once you get the sustain, it gets harder and harder. Yasui, I'm not sure if he actually meant to TP back that early, but he spent so much mana in the early levels. He TP'd back, has already had to base again, and walk back once more. So he's going to lose a full wave. It's TP here from Insanity.
Insanity's ready to go. Afromu wants to escape, but the distortion forward says not today. First blood over to the Immortals mid laner. They will not kill Neo as well, but they're on the board.
Nicely done there from Insanity. That is the mid lane prio that they needed, and Insanity gets so much from that. Yasui not only committing his first TP back to lane, but having to base again means he had no pressure on the map whatsoever. So not only does Insanity go bot side and get that kill, he's likely actually going to get the the wave as well. This could be solo kill.
Revenge going in. He's got the Devour. He throws out the tongue. One more lick, but it will not stick. Oh, Fake God barely walks away, but the Kench has been unbenched, Mr. Isaac. Revenge is ready to go in this series.
He absolutely is, but it does mean that ultimate is down and teleport is available for Fake God, so he should have lane prio. We can watch this one more time. The lane ward was there. And if you ever go forward in these types of situations, it's so well done to set this up. The double root, the hook to follow it up, the TP immediately at the same time. Afro tries to build space by walking up towards the river, then flashing down, but Insanity had him read like a book. He knew he could not go out towards the river, gets that first kill, gets back towards mid lane, doesn't even give up any sort of a farm advantage. Dignitas may want to take this fight, though. They have a Katie in here.
Oh! I thought for sure that was going to hit him with the projectile lollipop there at the very end, but just not quite enough distance. Lots of people rotating here towards the mid lane. This is kind of what you were talking about. It feels like both teams are feeling a little bit more comfortable in their own skin here in game number 2, rotating around a bit more and looking for more of that playmaking.
Absolutely. I'm going to be interested to see how Yasui plays this one out as far as the ultimates he's choosing. Honestly think that the ultimates are pretty crap for Silas this game.
Okay.
Like there's some use. To me, the best one is going to be TK ult, probably. You know, using that defensively could be pretty valuable. You know, trying to save someone on your team or something like that. But besides that, it's like, I mean, Ray's ult doesn't really do anything for you without the ability to follow up with your activatable Q. You know, the box, I guess, can be pretty nice, but there's no like big win here as far as the Silas ults, and usually that's when you see it picked in pro play. Like when Alistar's meta and Alistar gets locked in, like that's the only one you need. Blitzcrank, that's the only one you need. Malphite, that's an obvious one, but there's no like huge win here, I feel like, as far as the Silas ults.
Well, here's what you were talking about earlier. Fake God having the ulti advantage against Revenge. Here in the 1v1. Thick Skin may be able to keep him alive. He dives into the ground. He gets underneath the turret. Acadian will not hit. The wind becomes lightning, and Revenge survives it.
Yep, Revenge going to be able to survive, but now you get the push. You get to reset this wave before he can get back here. And this is where Morgan started taking over. And it was actually so critical that he survived because it was a trade of flashes. Fake God had not used his teleport earlier, you know, when Revenge just barely missed out on that solo kill. So you spend your ult. Fake God didn't use his. He escapes. He comes back to lane with the Leeching Leer. And now it's ulti versus no ulti. And he is higher on health and resources. So he pushes Revenge out. He pushes in the wave. Now they're going to be able to try to take this rift here. Oh, it's stolen!
Xerxes stole the thing. Now, does he want to try to get the eye? Yes, he does. He can just walk back in and take it. TY for Leash with less than 3 next to it just to rub it in the wound.
Man, that sucks for Dignitas.
Yeah, they had it all the way down to like 5%.
Yeah.
He just walk up, W smite. Thanks, bud.
I mean, that was their own mistake. And this is all about the facing of the Herald, right? You actually want to be standing over here. You want to be standing on this side so that Shelly's back is away from where Xerxes is coming in. But instead, the back is towards Xerxes. He just slides in there, stabs the eye, smites it down, even able to get the Herald because Insanity had mid lane prio. Look, that also means that most of the advantage from top lane was for nothing as well.
I know we'd get DMCA'd for it, but I just want to see the smooth criminal overlay with that one, because that was slick, man. That was good stuff coming out from Xerxes there, reading the opportunity to go in and steal it away. And honestly, even if it fails, even if it doesn't work and now he's in the middle of 2 enemy players trying to get away, you're Viego. Just ult over the wall. There's no real cost here except that cooldown timer.
And this game is looking a lot worse, honestly, than the same position for Dignitas last time. You can see the FTX gold advantage up about 800, but they've gotten the Herald, they've gotten the Dragon, they're the ones with the kill, right? You know, last time around, Immortals were actually the ones controlling the Dragons, but they were giving up Heralds on the other side, and now this time, they kind of get their cake and eat it too. Raze will be zoned off. This is some nice counterplay on that bottom side. We'll see what Xerxes can get done, because he's got a pressure now, and he probably wants to drop Herald and try to get something done to be able to move over and continue stacking up this Dragon, because they're actually losing a lot of gold there.
Yeah, Dignitas flexing pretty hard down here in the bottom lane. Xerxes and Insanity both looking for an opportunity to maybe join up with this. However, they don't have the man advantage enough. All right, the Kench is hungry yet again. Spits Fake God right back out. Now he's stuck in the death realm, but who will prevail? We got ourselves a tank fight. Revenge going for a little bit more here. Still has Thick Skin ready to pop if he needs it. Fake God also with his own shield. And it looks like, all right, we're just going to regenerate. Everybody's going to walk away from it. Ults being traded back and forth up here in the top side. I love how aggressively both these men are playing the matchup.
Yeah, Revenge is really trying to go at him because you know, as a Tom Kench, your fun in this matchup is very limited, right? Like, he is getting close to the Riftmaker. He has the pieces. And when that comes through, that plus Conqueror is usually just more than you can actually deal in damage. The healing coming through.
As a tank, what do you do against it, right?
It's very difficult, you know, unless you're playing from way ahead, but he is down a bit on farm. You know, he's trying to utilize his additional regen there, trading the ult out aggressively. Fake God has the response of his own ulti, and he's trying to go in here.
Okay, Revenge goes in. Doesn't quite get the knock-up, but he's got a lot of extra damage coming out here. Fake God has to try to walk away from it. There's the tongue lash. One more hit. Flash for the lick. Fake God is down and Revenge is unleashed.
Okay, Revenge, let's go. The ultimate trade earlier finds the opportunity to get the kill here. And Fake God needed to use the E to disengage. He needed to throw it the other way to scoot that Tom Kench away from him. Instead, he pulls him right on him, and that's where Revenge wanted to be. Fake God gets taken down, loses his flash. They are pushing on this bottom side as well, so Immortals winning out on both sides of the map, and they can likely even move towards the dragon.
Oh, and a beautiful play from Destiny. They're denying the grand entrance from Afromoon with a quickness already engaged. That stops the whole show from Dignitas in the bottom lane.
That was really nice. He hooks one, he plays the other out.
Yeah.
That was looking slick.
We are getting a lot of fancy footwork here today from these guys. Now, we do have 2.1 thousand gold. That's your FTX gold advantage here for Immortals. 12 minutes into the game. 2,000 at 12 minutes is a very nice lead for Immortals to have built up for themselves at this point. We did not see a lead this large this early in the previous game.
Exactly. I mean, you know, that's kind of what I was talking about earlier. It's one of these situations where, you know, generally in League of Legends, if the game is going even, you either have the gold advantage or you have the dragon advantage. In this case, they have both, and that just means you're winning everywhere, and that is really problematic. Plus, Fake God dying in that 1v1 didn't actually have enough gold to complete his Riftmaker, so he's still waiting for that. Is going to decide to make a pit stop towards what looks like Merc Treads here. And Revenge just going at him.
Revenge. Oh, and he devours him after the claw, and Raze is ready and waiting. Now, he will have to wait for this 7 seconds in the Shadow Realm to end, but oh, baby, Revenge got the blue eyes white dragon. See ya!
Oh, Revenge, the tongue slap into the dive there. They're going for Insanity. Looks like they will catch him.
Insanity in trouble. One more hit from Acadian. Gets it done. He had the auto attack, but even if not, the Iron Spike whip active would have had the range.
Maybe. It is Tom Kench, though.
Yeah, Revenge will be a difficult target. He does not have his ulti. He does not have his ulti. This next wave would be the time to do it. There is no one else here on the side of Immortals to try to help Revenge. Yasui under pressure here in mid lane, but he gets away to safety. Okay, let's see it, Revenge. Three-man play coming out. Afromoo gonna take the aggro here with the start. Never mind, it's over to Acadian. Revenge still going back in for that one. Thick Skin keeps him alive. TP's coming in, and now Immortals have found their counter-attack. Afromoo is grabbed by the death sentence over the wall. Insanity picks up Acadian, and Dignitas digs their own graves. Double kill for the Ruined King and his loyal servant, the Frog Prince.
Unclog the Frog, unbench the Kench, don't mess with Revenge. They try to pull off the dive, but he is so damn tanky. They're not able to do it. The tower more than enough defense, and it takes them so long that Immortals are able to swoop in there. The TP coming through from Insanity, the rotations coming down here as well. You knew they wanted to go for this because they killed Insanity off, but honestly, they just kind of waited too long. They would have needed to really push faster. They try to wait for the next wave to come through, but this buys a lot of time for Immortals to start moving around the map here, to start heading down towards this side. When they finally do go, you can already see Viego's heading down on the minimap. We are back to live as Afro.
Okay. All right, he's in a little bit of trouble, but he's not dead, and that's the important part, because right now this game is running away from Dignitas. Immortals are running away with everything. Look at the gold count over there on the left side. You got to go down all the way to number 5 before you get to a Dignitas player. Now, Rift Herald once again up for contest. It was stolen away by Xerxes the first time around. He may just be able to do it again. He has positioned himself on the other side to maybe be able to hit that eyeball again. Immortals bringing Revenge closer. Looks like they're just going to give this one away. It's too risky to try to contest it. I like this decision from them just to make sure they're not throwing away the whole game for a Rift Herald, tossing away that lead that they've built up so far. But remember, the plates are down. We're 16 minutes into the game thereabouts, and that means that Immortals now have the chance to put some damage onto the Tier 1 turret. Dignitas farming up their own camps, holding the line here at the Tier 1. Without IMT stealing away that Herald, the mid lane turret stands.
And I think it was smart to actually give that one up because Revenge had no TP. He used that to get to the bot lane tower to actually protect that, but Neo gets hooked.
Neo getting chain CC'd, but there's the power of the Xayah. That's what we were talking about. Destiny's stuck in the death realm here with the Mordekaiser, but now a lot of damage coming in. Revenge with the save. Ray's going to be pulled away to safety with the Devour. Shield keeping him in good enough condition, and now they're going to turn the damage right back around in a fake god. Revenge keeps on going forwards. Revenge, 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 revenge. Unload the Toad, permit the Kermit, unbench the Kench, unclog the Frog. Say it however you want to say it. He's popping off.
You had way more than me. You've been studying your Tahm Kench. I like it. They're looking for the dive here. Revenge gonna go over the wall.
Over the wall he goes. Two-man knockup comes out. Don't you all ever doubt this man's power here on that catfish. You got Immortals with a 4-man squad taking out the Tier 1 turret, going up to a 6,000 gold lead.
It's a stop. They took the top lane tower at the same time. Insanity wasn't even there for the fight. He was pushing the side lane. We can watch this one more time. Neo trying to sidestep, but against the wall, there's nowhere to dodge. The ulti does come through. Fake God going forward, but he gets nothing done here on Destiny. He was able to sidestep very well. Revenge coming through. The ulti, while the cooldown is long, it is much more powerful. He saved Raze completely there, creating so much distance from that Dignitas kill squad, getting him back to safety, spinning him out with a big shield there, so they can't even force out the flash. And then Xerxes just kind of sneaking around here. Tahm Kench goes into the pit, has a great W, knocking up both members there on the dive. Neo goes down, Afro goes down. Insanity split pushing this whole time. Immortals are crushing Dig.
Their preparation is on point. Damage dealt in the last team fight. LeBlanc wasn't there. LeBlanc was split pushing entirely. Was not involved even a little bit, but Raze's damage was about as much as the whole enemy team, so it's okay. Both your top laner and your jungler also putting in good numbers there. Immortals are just slamming this second game.
I mean, Raze is fed, right? You actually check in at the gold difference here in the bot lane. That is ridiculous. He is 3K ahead of Neo. He's got the full Lord Doms on top. He's got the Tahm Kench, the Thresh for safety, Guardian, Exhaust. There is no way you're going to easily take down Raze. And with this shield bow to boot,
and look at the confidence.
Look at all the damage you don't do to this Tahm Kench.
Tahm Kench is a big old ball of stats. And that ball has a radius, baby. It is a big old ball of stats just rolling at you, completely unimpeded. Regenerates immediately, right back up to about, what does that look like to you? 85, 90% HP? It's a lot.
Good enough.
Yeah.
Check the box.
It's good enough. He's doing all right. And hey, by the way, that is a Tahm Kench that first purchased Anathema's chains, which makes you very tanky against one opponent and just sort of not against everybody else. So that means that he is enduring the damage from multiple people without serious, like, AoE team-fighting tank items.
Yep.
What happens when that Bomby Cinder evolves into a Mythic? What happens then when that gets supported with more tank items? This is a problem.
Sadness for Dignitas. That's what happens. A defeat screen, very likely.
That'll do it.
Also what happens. We'll see. Dignitas have got to find some way in. They've got to find some sort of advantage because right now they're just kind of losing everywhere. You know, they don't have a strong member on the map, so it makes it very difficult to really know where to go. Yeah. And I think in those kind of situations, you have to look to what is your X factor. And in this game, it's Aphromoo. It's on the Rakan. So I would like to see them try to play a little bit more aggressively in the side lane, push the Sylas down the side lane, have Afro just shadowing him behind, and try to make some sort of a play happen. Try to turn a 1v1 into a 2v1, pick off Insanity, get something done, because right now, I mean, they're just losing everywhere. They're losing control of their jungle, they're losing out in the farm, they're losing on the objective score. You know, it's Soul here in almost 3 minutes, and that is just
they must
probably
fight.
GG.
They must fight, right?
You've got to do something.
We can't have a world where Dignitas chooses not to fight at Infernal Soul when you're already down this much. Yasui's going in, trying to 1v1 Insanity, goes in here for the Kingslayer, grabs himself the heal, got another team fight breaking out here in the mid-river we've got Destiny trying to get away in the picture-in-picture, Raze throwing the ulti over the wall, Insanity going to still be chased down by Yasui. You got Insanity running away in the top side river with a little bit more damage coming onto both sides. Dignitas chasing into the enemy jungle, looking to find something. Kagan's going to be killed. You still got Insanity looking to escape over the wall with a distortion if he can, goes for the flash, distortion out, the man staying alive. Meanwhile, Revenge, oh, the enemy bot lane's behind enemy lines, and that's not where you want to be. It ain't saving Private Afro, it ain't saving Private Neo. The movie ends early, and Insanity punched his ticket. 3 dead for Dig.
Insanity runs away the whole map, escapes, and even picks up a kill. Immortals say, sure, Baron, why not? They're just going to TP in for it here. Raze, as I said, already on 2 items. Insanity TP's back, and they are on it. They are cruising here in game number 2.
21 minutes and 15 seconds into the game. FTX gold advantage 7,000. Before an almost on-spawn Baron. Immortals have everything and the kitchen sink in this game. They took Dignitas' kitchen sink. They said, you don't need it no more.
That's rude. You don't need to.
Their gameplay is clean. They get 2 sinks. Dignitas is all dirty. No sink allowed. And that is where Immortals is at right now. 1 minute and 15 seconds till our soul spawns. Here's where the fight started on the other side.
Yep, Destiny able to just kind of scoot him away there with the flay, flashing back. And it's all about the turn here, of course. Raze over the wall, getting a lot of damage out here with the green gun. Pretty smart from Destiny, just go into that corner, knowing he was going to go down. Revenge making the rotation. Raze plus Revenge is just kind of this unstoppable duo now. And once Xerxes is behind you, there's just no way out. Dignitas, this is all you can do. This is smart.
Dignitas going for the pick here. They go after Xerxes, but it doesn't work. With Afromu already down, Fake God goes into the death realm here with Insanity, looking to take him out of the fight. Insanity with some fancy footwork, staying away, putting some burst onto Fake God, and as he comes out of the Shadow Realm, he's sent straight back to hell. Xerxes sends him on his way. 2 for nothing. Immortals. And
that was their last chance.
Mr. Azael, would you kindly compare the death timer between Mordekaiser and the Soul? Because I think that is also a big problem right now.
Yeah, I mean, this game is over. That was their last chance. Oh, almost. If Neo had items, that would be a kill.
If Zaya had more than a Gale Force and a purple cloak, that probably would have been a kill.
Look at Ray's items. Imagine if you had that.
If you had
killed
those
him like 3 times over.
Dude, he dies in 2 less auto attacks if you have those things. Like, you kill him, you hit him the first time. If it's a crit, he dies.
Mean, that is the toughest part about playing from a disadvantage, is that even if your opponents make a mistake, you usually cannot punish when you're this far behind. You just don't have the goal to do it. Soul is there. Baron is there. They're insanely ahead. That 5-man pick, I think it was the right move for Dignitas, because maybe if you get a free kill there, you can try to contest the Soul in a 5v4.
I like the fact they went for something.
You got to try something, because this game is just completely out of control, but with that going bad, this is all over.
Neo saves the ulti, thinking that even if he gets knocked up, that he will not die in the CC and he can get away, but that's not the case. Immortals have the damage, they have the lead, they have the game in the palm of their hands. They will do nothing but pad the stats on their way to the victory line. Yasui's the last... Nope. I couldn't even say it in time, man. I couldn't even get the words out of my mouth before they put that man right back in the spawn platform. There's your Bud Light ace. There's your game number 2. 2 minutes faster than game number 1. Immortals are on track for a clean sweep.
You couldn't get the words out of your mouth, and Dignitas could not get out of the fountain there at the end. Immortals stomp them in game number 2. You would not know that they are the ones that started in the lower bracket based on this series so far. They are crushing it.
Immortals making this look easy.
I mean, I'm really impressed by both Insanity and Revenge. They've been having a hell of a series. Well, honestly, everyone on Immortals is having really good series thus far, so it's kind of hard to just pinpoint the one person. But these 2 guys, no playoff experience, coming into it, looking really good. Revenge was playing with a lot of confidence. I think there are a lot of players who, given a bad matchup, you're playing Tahm Kench in a Mord. Yes, you have some opportunity early, but I think a lot of people would have just accepted they were going to lose the matchup and played it pretty passively, played it to farm. And if you do that, you guaranteed lose the matchup. Because if Mordekaiser gets that Riftmaker, gets the Merc Tread, that completed items, and you're kind of at even gold, yeah, you're just done. But we saw how aggressively he played it. He played it with a lot of confidence, willing to trade out the ult for ult, willing to trade out flash for flash, gets a solo kill, was running over the team fights. Fake God was nowhere to be seen in the lane or in the team fights, even with this priority pick. And Immortals are just playing so damn confident. Like, everything is going their way right now. I mean, Xerxes walking up and stealing the Herald. Insanity is actually dominating in the mid lane. Revenge is everywhere. The bot lane's crushing it. It just feels like this is getting some major changes for Dignitas to stand a chance.
And for me, it wasn't just that Revenge was able to flex his muscles and be tough in that 1v1 up there. It's the fact that afterwards, he transitions it to being a part of everything they do.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the guy sitting around complaining on Reddit, oh, top lane doesn't impact the game enough. No, this is the guy who says, screw you, I'm going to impact the game. I'm going to define the game. Unbench that Kench.
I am the game.
I am the game. And that is where we're at. Immortals, 1 game away from a clean sweep of Dignitas. We're heading to a short break. But on the other side, we're joining up with the State Farm Analyst Desk and getting ready for what very well could be match point in this series. See you there.
Initializing legendary moments.
Take a look while you can, because if you blink, you'll miss it.
I'm sure you've heard the news.
Gold, gold, and more gold.
Here comes the big play. Oh, that's perfect timing. You can see this one coming. They get what they need. They got the mid. They got the support. They got the top.
Are they going to give you some fun League of Legends? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome to the LCS.
FTX, official cryptocurrency exchange partner of the LCS.
Sequence complete.
force if you look at the comparison.
Yeah, and that tone is savage because this game was a complete runaway by Immortals. And I think what I'm seeing from Dignitas is, aside from drafting, you know, we can talk about like the Zen and the lanes that they should have been picking to support them, because I didn't love the draft. There's also just a much more coordinated front from Immortals.
Yeah, let's dig a bit more into the coordination that happened in draft here. Hi, it looked like on the side of Dignitas, they were a bit limited in some of their options in some scenarios.
Right. I don't exactly know how the Mord into Tom Kench matchup is supposed to go, but I'm gonna toss a limb out there and say he probably shouldn't get solo killed twice in a row. I imagine it doesn't go that way. And I think they just really need to go back and look at their draft. Maybe go red side or something, because these drafts on the blue side that they're doing are awful. They're first picking Zinza, which is great, but then everything afterwards is just kind of a very big question mark for me.
Yeah, like LeBlanc is open, and they're not picking it. I'm not sure if it's a champ pool issue. I'm pretty sure it's not, actually. I'm pretty sure Yusui does play LeBlanc, so I would like them to play around what they're good at, which is their early game.
My biggest problem with this is that it is so easy to itemize magic resistance. The moment you see Tom Kench, Thresh, Viego, and all this, mostly the Tom Kench, and you just slam in Silas Mordekaiser, I think the difficulty is the game goes long enough. I mean, you're already going to get outscaled just looking at the Aphelios, so that point in the draft, Aphelios Thresh, that is. So I had a lot of problems from that one alone. And also, Mordekaiser's trough is literally in the first, like, few levels before he actually gets items. So I found it difficult where it's like, Tom Kench is going to outlane you. So, like, that was definitely an issue from me. So the draft was difficult. But also, I mean, look, at the end of the day, IMT is just a better team. And that's what they're showing here with just smarter plays, better setup. That's just been a constant throughout the series.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of that setup, right off the bat, we saw them being extremely proactive.
Yeah, so a little bit earlier, because we were getting Dignitas pushing in, a wonderful ward was placed from Destiny to set up for a TP ward. They also had purple gun, so this was a pre-planned setup here. Insanity had TP. You can imagine, like 30 seconds in advance, they were setting up for this play, and it results in a first blood.
Yeah, bro. So I was watching pro view really quick of this, right? Yeah. And I was wondering what had happened to the Silas TP. He just literally used it mid for no reason at all. And I don't know why, but had he not done that, that play bot wouldn't have worked, because then they would have double TP'd. So okay. I don't know what he's up to.
Yeah, because on the other side of a good setup by Immortals is a bad setup by Dignitas, right? Like, they know, hey, we can't match TP. LeBlanc he's not covered in lane at all, right? So then for them to be pushed up this far just shows really bad coordination by Dignitas.
I would blame mid lane more than bot, because there's a very small window of when it happened, because he basically TP'd mid onto a creep, right? The moment he did that, about 4-ish seconds later, Insanity TP'd bot, so there wasn't much room for the bot lane to back up in time anyway. If I was reviewing that game, I'd be like, yo, bro, what is this TP? So.
Yeah, not much room for Dignitas to come back into the game in general when you look at the way that Immortals was also handling the team fights.
Yeah, so taking a look at this one, I mean, this is the classic case of just a wonderful hook from Destiny. We've seen it throughout this split. So it just sets them up really well. Great disengage, too.
I was watching this fight, and I'm watching the Thresh and Mordekaiser battling out 1v1. Usually when you get ulted by Mordekaiser, you're like, oh no, please save me. But then Thresh is like full HP at the end of that fight. I'm like, I feel like something went wrong here, guys. Mordekaiser didn't hurt Thresh. He won the battle in the Shadow Realm.
Even with all of that considered, though, putting some more of that pride on the supports, Kaizen, we called out that Destiny was going to be a key factor in making sure they maintain control with these types of picks.
Yeah, and I mean, he's absolutely going to be a factor on his best champion, right, in Thresh. And I don't think it's necessarily an issue for him to have Thresh in general, but I think the issue is that they're trading away so many power picks in exchange for very little. Like, we've seen them draft Xin twice in a row now and pretty much get nothing besides that is a really potent pick. We see Xayah Rakan, you know, it's good that they feel comfortable on the picks and it gives them the engage they need, but these are not necessarily the S-tier picks that you would expect to see. So I would like to see them fix their draft, and I'm not in the camp that it's a red side versus blue side issue. I think it's a priority issue.
All I'm saying is zero in on specific players, because it feels like Immortals are just playing better from a pound for pound, player for player. I look at Revenge, that back half of the play we just saw when he dove in, recognizing his limits, he did this all game long.
He did.
Like this was, of course, the very beginning of the game where he's able to get the 1v1. It was also the play immediately afterwards where he's setting up for an Aphelios that's coming in through the lane. And I just think that Revenge has just been spot on in this game.
He has, and he's been spot on 2 games in a row now.
Oh, no.
And this is a situation where I look at the kind of matchups that being opted into by Dig. And what the argument I would make for Red side is it'll give them an opportunity to counter pick and just pick matchups where you're just in a more favorable position, because I think right now Immortals as individuals are also just outplaying their opponents consistently.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of looking at the play that we saw here. This was literally immediately after getting the kill topside with the Aphelios. TP's bot lane knowing that he can catch the wave, a 3-man dive on him, and he outplays it. I mean, that's just Tahm Kench, sure. But going to your point about the draft, I said going into the previous game that I just think that Dignitas should have wanted Red side. That Red side, so you actually get the proper matchups in both mid and top lane. I think solo lanes have been the weakest portion of Dignitas this full split. And so the fact that they're not really giving themselves room to breathe there has been a difficult point this series.
And Dignitas need to pull from the depths of their hearts and that confidence to be able to bring it back after starting the series 0-2. We are going to find out if Immortals are able to close this out with a 3-0 finish against Dignitas QNTMPAY and end their playoff run. We'll find out right after this.
It's a shellacking.
Woo!
Gotta dig deep.
They chose
Can't believe that Daniel deal you got me on my insurance.
Daniel, State Farm offers surprisingly great rates to everyone.
Sure you do. You want to meet the queen?
I'm not dressed for that. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.